Hi, we're back, I hope. We'll see, having a little bit of technical difficulties. Seems like this happens at least once per stream, so hopefully we've got it out of our system. I'm going to switch back to the analog overhead cam. And so we did a couple of bat warm-up drawings. These guys here, and then these guys here. And now it's time to get into going to draw. We're going to follow up. This was last time I was doing this. I drew this leopard, and now, if I won't mess this one up, got a little bit of. Looks like I drew on the wrong side of the paper, so I need to. I may need to take this out so it doesn't get messed up. There we go. Protect that over there. Maybe I'll cut that off next time. Alright. Or actually, there we go. So this is the new surface, and you can see that's the same reference to what I was drawing from a moment ago is what I'm going to be working on now. This is a little tricky because this paper is really large, and I've got a very short overhead arm for my overhead camera here. Welcome back, Nebrick. All right, Nebrick back. Coming to you live, and we have the drawing weather with Nathan. Yeah, how's it out there, Nathan? It's going pretty well here. It's a little cold out. It's been getting a little bit warmer than it was last week. We had a ton of snow. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start outlining this. I think I can get this a little bit higher, just a little bit. And I'll just, if I can get that up there like that, and then just go ahead and tilt that down a bit more. That may work. Try to get this a little bit out of the way. It's a little tricky because this can be very shiny on the black paper, but we'll get it sorted out. Okay. Thanks for coming back, Nebrick back. It's good to have company when you're on here. All right, so now I'm gonna kind of try to divide the paper up overall and make sure I make good use of the overall space. So that means I think you can kind of see this lead. I'm drawing in black lead first because I don't want it to show up in the final drawing too much. But you can really actually see it quite a bit on the paper. It's pretty pretty shiny. I think that's a little bit more like it. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting that chin in over there. I do try to not just trying to do a rendering twice. I want to also sort of draw through it a little bit. So I'm going to kind of find the base of the skull here, I think. And then I kind of divide it with a line extends down into the nose. And so then between there, oh, that's way too small. I'm wasting a ton of space here. Okay, I'm gonna back up a lot here. One thing I try to do is make sure I really fill the paper. I make good use of the space. I want to work larger, not smaller, partly because the larger you are, the more essentially you minimize the errors in your detail. So like in illustrating comic books, it's a fairly common thing. See, that's much bigger. Freaking much bigger here. I need a little bit more light though. So in comic books, they work at 2x, 2 times the size of print. And then they scale it down, and that creates a much more impressive overall effect, because drawings that are reduced, they look better when they get reduced. Drawings that are large being reduced makes them better. Makes them appear more detailed. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is make sure I'm working at the right resolution. If I go too small resolution, I'm using computer terms there. Right resolution. This is analog, so there's no resolution, but you get me. I'm sure you know what I'm saying. I'd like to know if the stream is better. I took the bitrate down. All right, good night, Nebrick. Thanks for joining. It's great having your company. Thanks for dropping in. See you around. Thanks for the follow. I'm going to take a short break and be right back. All right, we're back. 1 second before I get back into the drawing. My phone's about to die, so I gotta plug that in. All right, just plug that in over here. Hopefully that lasts. All right. So I'll try to keep an eye on the chat up here since my phone's over there. We're back to sketching this bat. I'm gonna pull this up a little bit. So you can see I'm working with black lead to try to do the initial sketch. Let's see, and then so yeah, I was saying I'm trying to find sort of that's essentially the base of the skull. I'm going to draw kind of an indication of the eyes across there. And see how that works. So the eyes then are about halfway. Okay, so I've actually got that way too high. So sort of frame them in. They're more like about there. The center of the eyes. Now actually, it's more than that. There to there. This is looking like it might be going a little too high up. I'm going to bring that in a little bit more, I think. Which means that this sort of not nose thing comes up a bit. You have to kind of clean up some of this as you go, because even though it doesn't totally show up in the final sketch, you don't want a ton of it. It's kind of shiny. So I'm kind of counting on that being about there. Now it seems about right. Let's see if the width is right. Okay, so the distance from there to there will be the same as this, and that's right. Okay. So it's good to do some of those measurements sometimes. Can't make corrections if you're not checking your work. It's kind of similar to one reason why I like to do a variety of subjects on this channel, from programming to music composition to drawing and animation, is I think that you learn a little bit of something different about the creative process from each thing, and you can kind of apply some of those things across. And that, when I say that about how, well, if you're not measuring and checking your work, and also, oh, you know what, we need music, and I won't have to just listen to me app. But yeah, part of the idea of the concept of checking your work, that is a concept, obviously it's more obvious, that's an idea that is more apparent, an aspect of the creative process that's much more apparent when you're working with code, when you're doing art from code, because testing is pretty much the whole thing. In fact, there's an expression in programming that you should test first, or what they mean is write test plans before you write the code. So they actually write code that is used to verify whether the next code that you're going to write works. That's sort of it's also along the lines of, how I'm saying I'm trying to draw twice. I'm not drawing once, I'm drawing twice. I draw the underdrawing and then I do the drawing. Well, similarly in programming, you draw twice, or you write the code. You basically code it twice. You write the code that verifies the code, and then you write the code that actually works. And of course, you'd think, well, if there could be a bug in the if there can be a bug in the code, couldn't there be a bug in test code? How are you going to know which one is right? Well, it's not very likely you're going to write a test that passes if there's bugs in both of your code, right? Your code has to kind of reach a higher standard to do it twice. And likewise, I think by drawing twice, you're forcing yourself to a higher standard of accuracy. Those eyes seem a little small to me. I don't know. Let me measure. The center part is definitely bigger. It's supposed to be. That one is bigger. Is it the same size? It should be about the same size as the nose. Yeah. Because it's funny how often I think that my drawing is wrong, and then I measure it and see that I'm wrong, and it's fine. I guess that it's probably a byproduct of being, evaluating it and being constantly trying to. I don't know, I might be picking up on something that's off though, and it might not be the proportions, so I shouldn't get too confident. So that ear, so about the width of the distance between the nose. Is that right? From there to there? Yeah. So one thing that's unfortunate about working in analog is that I can't flip it to see if it looks right. Although, I could do it with my camera. I've seen some people do that on their channel. I wonder if that would work. I'm going to see real quick if it lets me flip it. No, it just says flip vertically, which that makes no sense. Why would I flip it vertically? All right, I'm not going to mess with that. That seems like that could mess me up. I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat. I'm sorry if I miss anything. I can see now that my head is so big that I don't have as much room for this wing. But that's okay. I'd rather be zoomed in on the head and not get as much detail on the wing, because I think everyone can get the gist of that. It's not as central. So that's one of the jobs of art, is figuring out not only the cropping, which mostly, I should say, it was a decision of the photographer. This is sort of a collaboration with the photographer in a sense. I mean, unwitting on his part or her part. But, oops. Let's see, I'm gonna. Go ahead and move that a little bit. But anyway, I was saying one of the goals of art is one of the pieces of work that you do in art is picking out which details to focus on. and what matters. Because part of the thing is that I'm not trying to reproduce an image here. You know, if I wanted another copy of this image, I could just copy it to my hard disk and I could create many copies of it perfectly, every single one of them perfect, if that was what I was trying to do, by just copying them as files. So I'm not trying to copy, I'm trying to create something new here. I want to kind of interpret the image a little bit. There's a bit of a challenge to sort of filtering what I see, deciding which details matter, bringing out the details that to me capture the essence of the image and of the creature. So usually that means sort of the emotional, at least for me, the way I define art is that it's when you convey an experience or an emotion that you've had. And right now the experience is in the reference. I'm picking out the emotions that I'm feeling in it and trying to amplify those. So let's see, which means it's important to kind of ask, what do I feel from it? I'd say I mostly get a sense of sort of curiosity and innocence, although you wouldn't normally associate that with those qualities with a bat. I think that's what's a little bit startling, is that you don't necessarily expect those attributes in a bat, but that's what you see when you really look at it up close. It's got these really big baby-like eyes, which I think convey innocence. And I think it's also, I think it kind of conveys, yeah, I think there's curiosity that was probably tied in with that innocence. So that's what I want to emulate here. So that's important in the size of the eyes. Wonder why that snout looks just a little too big. Let me see. From there to there. It is too big. Okay, so I need to bring this nose up. See, I found an error. And that's good. That's one thing that's important also to keep in mind too, is it's not always just a matter of getting things right. It's finding and correcting errors. That's how you improve. Oh, that looks so much better. I think that's what was bothering me before. These nostrils are much higher up on it too, so that makes a big difference. A bat's kind of an interesting subject, and typically in drawing, one of the drawing exercises you'll do, like in art school, is or like an art class, I mean, anyway, is to do a drawing upside down, because you're used to looking at things upside right, and looking upside down is one of those ways you sort of turn off your brain a bit and experience it new. It kind of helps you turn off the part of your brain that's trying to understand what you're seeing and trying to drawing what you see from essentially from sort of an internal three-dimensional model that your brain has built. Like, we have iconic representations of things in our minds that are actually a little bit different and simplified from the things that we actually see.